It feels a lot like your soul is very peaceful. It's come here to experience a lot of peace. You're supposed to find peace even in the chaos. There are mirroring things in this life from that past life that you've come to heal with this person.
You're strong. You can even, like pull yourself up without even having your feet touch anything.
I find that even in your current life right now, it's still important for you to use your voice.
What I'm getting is that you want a love that you can contribute to. You're asking for like platinum, so you can't accept the copper when it shows up, even though it's pretty too.
You are being pushed outside your comfort zone to seek new heights.
And you are true to yourself and you're true to others around you as you live your authentic life. You are just you, and that is all you need to open up. We need you to speak your truth, Katrina.
All right, so this episode is going to be about basically how I came into learning what my life purpose was and this kind of gentle drip feed that the universe did. Yeah, so I kind of want to start with like my upbringing. So I was raised in an extremely non-religious family. Nobody growing up was requiring us to go to church or we didn't have to pray before any meals or anything like that. It was very religious free. Our family was very much like, you can believe what you want to believe. And it was pretty much the majority of the family that I grew up with that just didn't really have any ties to any kind of religious background whatsoever. But I remember when I was a kid, being an extreme loner, we moved all the time. Like, I think I counted 26 times we'd moved by the time I was 16 years old. So I didn't really learn how to like forge really strong bonds with people. And I very much kind of like lived in my own world, my own head. I am the oldest child of 4 girls. I spent a lot of time with my sisters, a lot of time with animals. I spent a lot of time with animals. And I was lucky in that my mom, well, I wouldn't say lucky, but the design, my life setup was kind of like my mom was just kind of like, whatever. I'd bring home, injured birds and nurse them back to health and stray dogs. And my mom was always just like, all right. So the majority of my life, I kind of spent just in my head with animals. I also remember being really drawn to the stars and loving to sing. I remember thinking that the 3 stars of Orion's belt, of course I didn't know it was Orion's belt at the time, I just know that now. I felt like they were following me around the world because everywhere we went, whether it was Oceanside when we lived on base or Hawaii when we lived on base, I would see the stars and I just remember feeling like they were always with me. It was really, yeah. Also, I think I need to say that, this is going to be a kind of a noisy episode. I have my fish tank over here that needs some water added to it, so it's kind of making dripping noises. I have my dog over here who keeps he's blatantly telling me he wants to go outside, even though we already went outside. I have my sister's dog here. I have my son right on the other side of one of those sliding doors playing on his tablet, so there might be some copyright infringement with whatever music he has playing in there, but hopefully that won't get this video taken down or whatever. I would say around the time I was maybe like 13, 14 years old, I decided to start taking my, no, it was before that. It had to be before that because we lived in California when I turned 13. So I don't know, maybe 11 or 12. I decided that I would take my sister to the Assembly of God church. So my mom was like a really good mom when the kids were born to about 2. Once they got off breastfeeding, she was mostly disinterested in the kids. I remember my grandmother having a really big part of being the caretaker and whatnot. And I would say when we moved on base in Camp Pendleton at about, I think I don't remember, young, 1st grade, I started going to Santa Margarita Elementary School. So my mom started partying a lot. She would, go out with other people on the base, and we're just going to leave it at that. So I would stay home, watch kids at night and whatnot. I remember when we moved to Hawaii, she would leave me home alone at night, and I was not allowed to go to sleep so that she can go out and go to the club while my dad was in Okinawa. But so my point here is that I kind of stepped into a caretaker role really, really, really young. And so by the time I was like 11 or 12, I kind of thought, my mom wasn't really about shit, and I kind of felt like we needed to go to church. So we started going to the Kailua Assemblies of God. My sisters and I were missionettes. We learned the Bible. We're saved by Jesus, all that good stuff. We were trained on how to be good housewives and all that good Christian wonderfulness. And I remember they thought for a long time that I was actually the mother of my siblings. They thought I was like this young, military wife, and they were shocked when they found out how old I was. And I remember that community was a really big deal. I remember they would bring us food because, we were poor. And when we moved on the other side of the island, one of the church families would drive us clear across the other side of the island, and so that we could continue going to church. So that is pretty much, once we moved to California, though, that ended. There was no more, going to church. When I moved to California, my mom I was around 13 years old, and she kind of got pretty heavily involved in drugs and doing drugs, selling drugs, and my life shifted significantly and, again, stepped even more into that, sort of parenting role. So around 16 years old, my mom kicked me out because she was, upset and whatever. It doesn't matter. I moved in with the father of my first two kids, had a couple of kids, and very, very, very easily continued my role as mom, because that's pretty much what I'd been doing for a while. And it was very fitting that I found somebody who, also needed a caretaker. The father of my first kid's dad, as soon as I got pregnant, he got a job, kept the job. He was a very good caretaker. Can't take that away from him, but he was not like emotionally present at all. There was, it's like, I also had a job while also took care of the kids pretty much by myself. And my only friends really at that time was like, his mother and sister and stuff. Because again, hardcore loner, not too many friends, et cetera, et cetera. I had a few childhood friends. One of them who went through the teenage years with me and early adulthood, but we kind of, went separate ways as life proceeded. At this point in my life, I'm pretty much, drinking the societal Kool-Aid of, all right, we got kids, we got to get a job, we just got to take care of our kids, get a job, make sure our kids go to college and that they don't become like we were, basically, teen parents, basically. So once I got out of that relationship, I got with the father of my second two kids. So I've given birth to 4 children. I always say I have 5 kids because one of them is the chosen child, and she is the daughter of the father of my the latter 2 children that I've had. And so, he came into my life with his daughter. She was 3 at the time, and my daughter was about 18 months old, and my son was about 4 or 5. So we get together, and things shift a little bit with him because he was a lot more kinder, and he was also really open. I remember now in retrospect, there was a lot of, so he actually wanted to be, he was in the Air Force, but he'd gotten out by then, and he told me when he got into the Air Force that his intentions were to be a linguist. He wanted to learn Arabic. And when he got into the Air Force, so he ended up in Intel, and he hated his job. It wasn't what he was actually looking for. So him and I get together, we're doing our parent thing. He was very, very, very an active and involved father. I remember that was one of the main reasons I was really drawn to him. He really wanted to be a dad. Like, it was a big deal to him. He wanted to be a dad more than he wanted to be a husband. That was just, I do feel like that's a huge part of his life purpose in this life. But yeah, so he really wanted to be a dad, but he was really intelligent. He read a lot of books. He was really, really smart. And I remember he was probably the first person that showed me that he knew that he had the energy of channeling, even though I don't think he knew it. And it was because he had healing hands. I would be going through different pains or whatever, and he could literally touch me and make it go away. And then I remember he drew a picture one time of him, me, and then something above him going through him to me or whatever. I don't know if he remembers that, but so again, though, no spiritual awakening at this point. So I'm very grounded in my 3D human experience, but I just remember feeling like it resonated, but not really understanding it. It's like we both got it, but now the present me would say we both got it on the soul level, but at the time, intellectually, we know what the fuck was going on. We just knew what was happening. We just went with it. I ended up going to work for the county and listening to a lot of audiobooks, a lot of Deepak Chopra. And I remember really resonating when Deepak talked about everyone was a spark of divinity. Everybody was a piece of God and the center of their own universe. And then, Deepak Chopra had, so the point here that I'm trying to make is that throughout my life, Spirit was just planting a whole bunch of seeds, all these little bitty seeds tons of audiobooks, and just really have an open unknowing. I also remember being extremely disinterested in what happened after death. I didn't understand why people were so, who gave a fuck? I was like, here's the thing, how I felt about, like, what happens once we die. We're all going to find out. There's really no need to dwell on that or to sit in the energy of like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Like, who gives a fuck? Right now we're alive. Like, let's kind of focus on that. Some common themes throughout my childhood were also eating like I'd starved at some point, right? Everyone would always make comments when I would eat, like, no one's going to take that from you, right? Like, like, you good, or dang, did you grow up hungry or whatever? Like, I've always gotten feedback on the way that I eat, because I eat like literally like somebody's going to steal that shit, or like it's going to disintegrate if I don't eat it. It'll self-destruct if I don't eat it like immediately. I've never enjoyed meals. I mean, I loved food and loved eating, but I would inhale food, literally. That and choking. I remember I would have like random coughing fits. Sometimes it would be like, how you inhale a little bit of saliva and then you start just choking. Monty, you just start choking. My dog is over here like, I need attention. So I would just kind of start choking, whatever. I also remember always wanting to be a pilot. Oh my gosh, when we lived on the, Air Force or Marine Corps base, they had airfields, and we would see the fighter jets with the Mach 100s. And I remember wanting to be in the Air Force when I grew up. And that's why I thought was like super cool that my second kid's dad was in the Air Force, even though he didn't get to fly anything. So fast forward that connection with my, the father of my first two children. He's actually my ex-husband now, technically, but whatever. So we'd gotten to a point where our relationship came to an end. And I feel like this was like 2018 when we separated, got divorced in 2019. I got on Tinder and I met a couple of people. And one of them was the person that is, the narcissist that I've done podcast episodes about. And the other one of them was, the guy that I'm actually seeing right now. So the guy that I'm seeing right now, I had spent a bit of time with him. And there were certain things about his situation and my belief system at that time, which was very, very, very fear-based. When I left my ex-husband, I felt like I'm not going to be able to find a person who gets me. I knew at that point that I had this energy of just being like really multifaceted is what I would call it. I remember feeling like I was really multifaceted, and there were certain things that my ex-husband wasn't really willing to do. He wasn't really into the snow. I got him to come up to Big Bear once, but it was not snowing at all. I remember wanting to do things that he just was like, no, like, I'm not interested. I remember in 2014 or 15 when I wanted to buy a home in the mountains in Crestline in Southern California, in the Southern California mountains. And just the idea of snow was always something that was so magical to me. And he was like, if you buy a house out there, you're going to be moving alone. And so I bought a house in Riverside, so I wouldn't lose my husband, whatever. Ended up breaking up anyway, but I just remember being really drawn to the mountains. So yeah, so I started talking to the guy who was the narcissist. He actually lived up in Crestline, and he was into all the things that I wanted to be in, like snowboarding, blah, 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 blah. But in chatting with him early on, before I ever even met him, he made a comment about something, and he said, I got to check my natal chart. Now, he was in the military as well. He was out of it now, but, he'd had that history there. And so I kind of thought something was like, look that up. By the way, guys, if someone ever says something to you in passing and you're like, look that up, there's a reason. That's resonance within your soul, and they're trying to get you to realign with some information. So I looked up natal charts, kind of expecting it to be like something to do with the water. And like a map. I'm envisioning maps. Also, I've always loved maps. I remember in school really being into topography and navigation. And before GPS, I was the type of person where I could, get to an address by using an actual map back when that was a thing. And, being able to know, which numbers on which side of the streets, the north, the south, the number, whatever. I really, really, really liked like maps and navigation and stuff. So I look up this natal chart. And this was like the first big shift. Now, throughout my childhood, I went through a lot of things, a lot of abuse, neglect, a lot of sexual abuse, just a lot of really fucked up stuff. So the very first thing as I'm going through this natal chart, and I pull up this natal chart, and it's long. People talk about astrology. I realized that a natal chart is an astrology thing. And up until that point in my life, I thought astrology was just your sun sign. Oh, I'm apparently a Sagittarius. I'm free-spirited and blah, 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 right? Which resonates to a certain extent, but that's not all of who I am, right? Well, I pull up this natal chart. This natal chart is everything. About, like I said, 37 pages. And I read through this document and I'm blown the fuck away. Because at this point I had also gone to college for psychology. And I had also come to the conclusion that a lot of my personality, my way of being was based on the trauma that I had gone through in my life. I read like lifespan psychology books, you know, all these things that I had basically reasoned like, okay. And then also I had a lot of experiences as a child where I would see things. I now know I was seeing ghosts and spirits, and I now know that I had certain ghosts that would project spirit images or make me see things that would scare the fuck out of me to fuck with me, because, you know, these ghosts were going through their own journey or whatever. So at this particular time, I had this, you know, identification with myself as being broken. I thought that I was really good at reading people, and I was really good at assessing situations, and I thought that was a trauma response. I thought it was because, you know, I grew up in a really traumatic situation, and people who grow up in trauma, they are hyper aware so that they can protect themselves and blah, blah, blah. I was also very much a peacemaker. You know, my mom, I would tell my sisters, like, look, this is all we have to do, because our mom, when she was on drugs, she would like come home and be super, super aggressive and just shitty and abusive. And I remember one of my sisters, who's an Aries, her son is an Aries, and she's actually, yeah, I won't get into that. She's amazing. But my mom would like beat the shit out of this girl, and my sister would talk shit to her. My sister would talk shit to her, like call her a crackhead bitch, and she was like a little kid. Like, I remember this one time, my mom was kicking her in the corner of the room by the bunk bed, and we lived in Adelanto at that time, which means I had dropped out of school because my mother was never there, and I had to be there so that my youngest sister could get on the school bus. So that means I was in about 10th grade when this happened, and my mom was just, you know, whatever. So I would tell my sisters, like, look, just smile and nod. Smile and nod. If we smile and nod, she'll fuck off. Like, she'll leave. We've just got to be cool. But one of my sisters was like, fuck that shit. The sister that's 3 years my junior. So yeah, so we're all like it's like 3 years apart for each of us, except the last two, they're about 2 years apart. So I'm reading through this fucking natal chart thing, and I'm like, oh my God. I remember the biggest takeaway that I got from my natal chart was that who I was not trauma-based. I actually was prepared coming in to deal with the trauma. Like, I was perfectly designed to deal with what I was presented with. It wasn't the other way around. And this was extremely mind-blowing. And I also learned when discovering my natal chart that when you actually look up your horoscope, by the way, guys, if you're interested in looking up your information, I used astro.cafeastrology.com to pull my natal chart. So it allows you to pull your natal chart, and it also shows you your horoscope. And your horoscope is not just about your sun sign. There are like all kinds of things floating around in the universe. I like to envision the universe with respect to astrology is like a really complex dial of imprintation, and you come in at a specific place and a specific time. I view it as like a cryptext, those little like combination-y things or whatever, but it's way more complex than that. And everybody has, when they come in, it's like, like this is your imprint, and it's specifically designed for everything that is in your orbit. Man, I was so blown away by this shit. This really, really, really changed my life and opened up my mind and made me accept parts of myself that I thought were inherently bad or broken. Yeah, I just remember being blown away. From the natal charts, I actually started hanging out with this fucking asshole narcissist that introduced me to a lot of this information. And I had dated a guy prior to him who had once told me we were soulmates. He was like, yeah, we're soulmates. He was like, well, we could fuck it up, though. Just because you're someone's soulmate doesn't mean you get to stay with them. And I had already decided that this guy wasn't the one. He was just cool. And I was just like, at the time, I was like, whatever, bro. Like, you're not about to make me stay with you. You got way too many kids. You got way too many baby mamas. Like, That's not about to be my story. I just knew that guy was not for me, but I hung out with him because he was cool. But I thought that he was saying that he was my soulmate because he was just trying to get me to hang around. Well, this guy, the narcissist, this is again about 2019, where had said to me, like, I know you, I know you. And he would say a bunch of shit to me that was like, it was like on a soul level, there was resonance, but on an ego, 3D level, and, being grounded in my human experience, I'm like, this motherfucker, what the fuck are you talking about? Why is he so weird? And it was my first time kind of like going into dating white men, and so I was just blaming everything on white guys. I was like, this just must be weird white guy shit, because as humans, we love to generalize, we love to label shit and, whatever. So I was just like, all right, this is weird white guy stuff. So, but as I'm dating him though, I start reading books. I'm introduced to like Dolores Cannon. And I'm also, by the way, the father of my first 2 kids had a spiritual awakening way before I did. I remember he sent me I got a text from him of a YouTube video about star seeds. I fucking opened up this video and I was like, what the fuck is this? I called him. I was like, did your phone get hacked? Like, did somebody steal your phone? Like, what the fuck is that? He's like, no, Trina. He's like, I think our kids are star seeds and da da da. And I'm like, man, what the fuck? My kids would come home, my 2 older kids, and they'd have crystals and stuff, and they'd be like, Mom, this couldn't do this. And I was like, no, it fucking can't. See, I went to community college, so I was a genius. You guys, don't let school sucks. School puts you in boxes and makes you think you know shit. It's very limiting. But I remember giving my kids shit. Like, no, like, absolutely not. Like, I took earth science, and I took the earth science lab, and I know the properties of different things. The things that is the Mohs hardness scale, the way that the things cleave, what the, chemical properties are of the stones or whatever, like how they're made. Like, thought I knew everything. Totally, like, gave my kids shit about that. But so anyway, so fast forward 2019. I'm reading books about soul planning, and the books that I've read were by Robert Schwartz. He's written 3 of them, and I'm listening to these books and I'm like, oh my fucking God. So the principle basically is that before we incarnate, first of all, in heaven, we all, we're souls. It's like Earth is very reflective of the spiritual realm, but it's just like a smidge little bit of it. It's not like as vast and as, infinite and as dynamic as, we can't comprehend what it's like to be home. So I'm just going to leave that there. It's like we come together as souls. We've had all these past lives. We're constantly incarnating into different realms, dimensions, and into these different experiences. And so before we come into Earth, there's actually a college in heaven. And all of the souls get together and, in their soul groups, because there's different soul groups that are at different levels of learning and soul evolution or whatever. It's almost like college, I remember feeling like, oh, wow, so souls are basically kind of like in a heavenly college, basically. So we sit down at this table that looks like a checkerboard, basically, and which seems very simplistic when you take into account what's actually being planned or whatever. So you pick where you're going to be born, what family you're going to incarnate into, who's going to play the role of mom, dad, which souls, what lessons you intend to learn, the things that you want your soul to accomplish or whatever. And these things that we want are like so huge. I have discovered quite a few different reasons why I came in to incarnate, like from everything from like wanting to heal my connection with source from a past life where I was a witch, and I would do spells for people in my village. And I did a spell that it was a negative spell to punish someone for something that they had done, and I didn't really know what the fuck I was doing. All like that. It's kind of like playing with fire. This negative spirit came in and affected my daughter, who is my daughter now, and it affected her negatively. And in that life, I was like, oh my God, I thought someone did something to me instead of taking responsibility for my own shit. I blamed someone else, and it completely severed, in that life, I completely severed my connection with God. Like, I gave up faith and just became this victim, and I was very And so in this life, one of the many things I hope to accomplish was reestablishing my connection with source and God, and man, that shit's reestablished. I drive around sometimes now, and I literally feel like I can just close my eyes, and I'll get exactly where the fuck I need to go. Like, nothing's going to happen to me. I feel so invincible now. It's probably not good, but I don't give a fuck. Like, my connection to source is solid as fuck. Everything that happens, I'm like, that's what it is. And also, in this life, I am hyper fucking responsible for my actions. I take responsibility for a while before, I learned this stuff. I take responsibility for everything. Like, So we have all these things that we come to work through or whatever, right? And the way it's explained in the book, it's like a freeway, but this freeway is large and gnarly as fuck. And there's tons, like billions of different ways you can go, because even though we plan our lives ahead and we have the things that we want to work on, when we incarnate, Trina has free will. So I have my soul that has all these intentions and whatnot, and I'm the, meat vehicle that they created to kind of carry these things out and allow the things that I go through to imprint my soul. But I can choose whatever I want to do. And I've done a lot of free will things. So even though we came in and we had this particular plan, if I go off this exit, okay, this is how we're going to like work with that. And if I go this exit, and this is kind of how we're going to work with that. But at the end result is always hopefully the same. But this is such a huge and vast like planning spectrum, or I'm not even sure how to articulate that. But everybody that we meet is destined. Like you're supposed to meet them. And you've met them before. Every single person that we've incarnated with, like my dog's not new to me, my fish, everything, every soul. It's to the point now, like, if I go to, let's say, get a massage, I know that the woman that is massaging me has worked on me in another life, or we've had some sort of If I hop in a car with an Uber driver, I know I've had a past life with him, and I know that our connecting in that moment is intentional. Like now I understand the level of intentionality of the universe and our life experience. But reading about these soul planning things, this was me. This is how I became acquainted with this information, and all of it resonated, and it was crazy. So this did a lot for me, man. It made me accept and love my mother in ways that I wasn't able to. Instead of looking at her like, a drug addict, piece of shit, bad mom, I looked at her as a person who gave me opportunities to learn and grow and expand. And I needed her to be that way so that I can turn into whoever I was going to turn into, and whoever I'm, still developing into, because, we're constantly growing, and you're not done till you're dead. It gave me an appreciation for the things that I went through with my father, my stepfather, all the relationship dynamics in my life. It made everything make sense, and this freed me from victimization. That was the biggest thing that soul planning did. Completely freed me from the energy of being a victim of what was going on or what I had been through in my life, which was huge, 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 huge. So now I have been freed from being a victim, or who I am being this trauma response to my upbringing. And I'd also freed myself of, being a victim, and actually appreciating that everything that I went through was set there to allow me to develop into something more, Now, in going through these things, it doesn't take away from the pain that, negative experiences cause you. You're supposed to feel the pain. That's the point. It doesn't alleviate the other person for responsibility for their actions. They have to deal with how they feel about what they've done, or whatever legal or, whatever ramifications come from their actions. I don't want it to be misconstrued that spirituality means it's all good, that once you learn these things, you're not supposed to feel, you're supposed to forgive everybody, and you're not supposed to punish, or, whatever. Whatever. I just don't want to take away from, basically, it just allowed me to feel everything that I felt. And it also gave me permission to allow everyone to be who they're supposed to be. So with all this newfound information, I was like, okay. So about 2020, my grandmother passes away. I had my spiritual awakening. I've done a whole episode on what that looked like. But so after I have this spiritual awakening, I realize, I'm told, like, you have guides and angels. Like, they're there. You can ask them questions. And this is the point where my life really started turning into magic, because I would be like, I remember driving down the freeway and I'm like, why the fuck would I make me like this? This mixed ass lover of every sort of genre of music. Like, so I love music, all kinds of music. There is no not liking a certain genre. I've always been interested in all type of dance. I've always wanted to learn I've wanted to live in all sort of countries so that I can immerse myself in there. Like, not traveling like, I'm going to go visit Sweden for a week. Like, no, I want to go to Sweden for 6 months. I used to say that if I ever won the lottery, I would travel to different countries and do a semester in college in every different country, just so that I can, like, kind of learn, expand, and grow into those cultures. I've always wanted to learn every every instrument. So it's like my thirst for knowledge is extremely vast. So I'm starting to ask questions. So I'm like, okay, so why the fuck would I make me like this? Like, why, I'm here, I'm this business owner in Southern California now. I drive this nice ass car. I have all these different interests. Like, my life is this beautiful thing. Like, why would I make me like this? And then also another theme with me is I, became an adult and started working. I can work a job for about 2 years and then I'm a master at it and I need to go. I get incredibly bored. And by this time I had already realized that I felt like, a really good thing for me to do would actually be to create businesses, immerse myself in the business, and then hire people and bring them on, that are amazing in the business, and then move on to the next business. Because if I don't, I'm going to end up being incredibly bored and incredibly like stir crazy and whatnot. So I'm asking these questions, driving down the freeway. And I swear to God, I pick up my phone. Now, this is Guides and Angels, you guys. You guys have no idea how many of your whims to talk to people, to go places, to read things are literally your guides and angels whispering shit to you. I feel now on the other side of this, probably like what goes on in my mind is probably anywhere between 70 to 90% source whispering shit at me. And then like anywhere from, I don't know, 30, I'm bad at math, but whatever the remaining of that would be, my free will, my just Trina being Trina. So I open up my phone and I am taken to a podcast about human design. So it was the De Luna podcast, and they go into like human design. And so now I'm learning about, so there's not only, you have the crypt text of your natal chart or whatever, the astrological imprint that is left upon you when you incarnate, and how that impacts your personality, your life purpose, all that kind of stuff. But now you have human design, which is like, I don't even know what it is. Y'all need to look up human design. So I end up getting a reading, this girl named Gabrielle Genter, Ginter, and I am reading through this thing, and I'm like, oh my God. So I'm going to read some of this really quick here. So one of the, like in human design, you have all these channels and energy centers and blah, blah, blah. And basically, like, I take away from this, my extreme intuitive abilities are because I have an open head and ajna or whatever, like whatever. So I can read people's minds. I can feel people's thoughts. I can hear people's thoughts because those centers on me are open. So I'm open to being imprinted and aware of the way other people think. But so one of the channels that's activated is the channel 5734. Y'all gotta look this up. It's very complicated. This is not as straightforward to me as like astrology is, which is also pretty complicated. But it says this channel links together gate 57, intuitive clarity, and gate 34, power. This channel is all about embracing the power of now and acting on it. You are a true force with the potential for greatness and the power to bring about change. This is a power drawn to taking action to help others in distress with senses as alert as those of a superhero. Your intuition responds to cries for help and wades into action in the interest of the survival of yourself and everyone else. This unique combination, I got a really sore throat. My tonsils are so swollen, so pardon all this excessive swallowing. This unique combination of mighty energy and gentle intuition means you wield your powerful hand in a velvet glove, right? I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, that's a lot, right? Then another one, channel 44 to 26, as a channel of enterprise. Enterprising by nature, you're someone whose communicative skills and desire to strive to improve everything in the world by conveying creative concepts. You are the entrepreneur, the enterprising salesman, the enterprising persuader, the enterprising investor, the enterprising messenger. Whatever situation you face, you're innovative in your negotiation and execution, forever cutting your cloth to suit the needs of the moment. You believe that what you bring to the world can make a difference. You can be the architect who improves a building design, the salesperson whose product changes the world, or the charmer whose mere presence will swoons the world. You're a creative being, master manipulator, and charming messenger rolled into one, driven by willpower, seeking to be the best. I'm like, what? So there's another one here. I'm just reading some highlights. I'm not going to post the whole I'm not going to read the whole thing because we don't have time. I only have so much time before my battery dies. Channel 4037, the channel of community. This channel links together gate 40, aloneness, and gate 37, friendship. Your word is your bond, and you wish to live in a community called trust and fairness, viewing the world as a large family. This is so true. As you seek purpose in life, you need like-minded allies who support your goals. You build bonds on the foundations of trust and honesty, where everyone pitches in and pulls his or her own weight. These values underpin all your relationships and associations. This channel is tribal, and you need the right company if fulfillment and success are to be achieved. If you fall in with the wrong people, life tends to go pear-shaped. The gate of values. Gate 50, you have an instinctual awareness that helps to create a moral standard for your tribe. This moral code is specifically regarding how we take care of our children. Those with this gate have an innate understanding that when we nurture our offspring with great care, it ensures the viability of the tribe as a whole. You feel the responsibility to uphold structure in the community that support the collective well-being and are effective in helping to nurture our children into adulthood. This same intellectual awareness allows you to question laws and values that are currently in place and call out the ones that don't serve the highest good of the tribe. This is through the evaluation that it is through this evaluation that individuals with this gate establish values that will help enrich the collective future. So I'm reading through all this stuff, and I'm a little intimidated. I'm not going to lie. As I'm having this thing, and I remember the girl who did my reading told me that she had the chills, that she had the feeling that I was here to change the world. And I'm like, what? All right, then I want to go into a little bit about what my profile is. I have profile 5/1, heretic investigator. You're the natural leaders, guides, and teachers in life. You're bright, clever, and expert at problem solving, and lead with great vision and an imaginative approach to resolving issues and overcoming all manner of obstacles. You cope, solve, you advise. No one could seem more thorough or dependable than you. Indeed, there's a discipline to your leadership, but you are the swan whose appearance impresses everyone. What they don't see is the furious padding beneath the surface and the concealed insecurities that you would hate anyone to be discovered. Now, you guys, at this point in my life, all I want is a plot of land, a little cabin, and a snowboard. I really don't have any desire to change the world. I actually am not super big on interacting with people at this point in my life. In this point in my life, I'm kind of like, people are assholes. I can feel everything. A lot of people are super disingenuous, and I had a lot of like sexual abuse in my life, and I felt like everybody wanted to fuck me. I felt like I was beautiful, and it was a problem because all that ended up happening because of that was just being attacked or assaulted or whatever. So I was really like kind of in a dark place. I'm kind of reading this. I'm like, you want me to do what now? The next part, you're great at looking outward, but not so keen on looking inward. You were highly capable performers, but you were prone to building a world of barriers and deflectors. It's possible that some of the closest people in your life don't really know who you are, yet remain captivated by the great dreams you paint onto a projection screen, portraying the person you want them to believe you are, or sometimes the person you believe you are. You derive self-worth from work and work alone. That provides you with a sure foundation in life. Outside this, personal interactions can feel vague, uncertain, and perhaps even awkward. Yeah, I'm very socially awkward. I really need to go deep with people. I get bored really, really, really quick, and really kind of struggle with wanting to be part of the crowd, so to speak. I don't know. So it's really, really, really fucking crazy. And then I also learned that I was a manifesting generator. So this is why I always have, like, I swear to God, I am sitting in billions of dollars worth of ideas and because I can turn anything into a business, and I have this like ability to see things and just this really holistic and large kind of way or whatever. Should try on ideas in their imagination first and visualize the outcome. Then they must wait before they take action because your configuration and society's bias toward manifesting generators often believe that they are manifestors. That's why the emotional theme of manifesting generators is anger and frustration. MGs must also inform in order to stabilize the energy around them. The energy is not responding, runs the risk of being very busy doing nothing, blah, 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 blah. All right, whatever. What people don't understand about manifesting generators is that they need to do more than one thing at a time. If they don't get to express that part of their energy, it's actually unhealthy for them. They can end up feeling very frustrated and angry. Most MGs feel the world doesn't move fast enough for them. It's good to remember that most people are not as able to do as much or move as quickly as you do. So try to be patient. That's a struggle with me. Because, man, I feel like I can meet people and I'll know, like dating, for example. I will hang out with a person for 5 fucking minutes and I will know exactly how far this is going to go. I'll know how much of myself I can be with this person. I'll know more about that person than they probably know about themselves. And like, I can kind of see the end of things, you know? And I used to use this energy very irresponsibly because I didn't really realize what the fuck was happening with that. So anyway, so this was huge, this finding my, getting a human design reading and, just further understanding myself. But while this was helping me understand myself, I was also very intimidated. I'm like, you want me to do what now? The next thing that kind of comes up is the my numerology report, and I'm just going to read you my life path. Maybe we'll see if there's anything else I want to go into, but life path. So it says your life path. Now I got this from Token Rock. Your life path is 22-4. Katrina, you were born on the most powerful and potentially the most successful of all life path numbers. It offers the extremes of life possibilities. On one hand, you have the potential to be the master builder, the person capable of perceiving something great in the archetypal world and manifesting it into the relative world. On the other hand, you can slip into the depths of obscurity, achieving little more than personal support. Your power is delicate. It exists by virtue of your ideas and visions, which you must use to inspire others to join you in your dream. Only by marshaling collective forces are you able to bring together the necessary elements, people, ideas, resources that will enable you to realize your goals. Consequently, your life path is one requiring dramatic evolution. By being able to integrate seemingly conflicting characteristics within yourself, your inspiring vision and your natural tendency toward practicality, for example, you develop the talent to deal effectively with a great variety of people. This allows you to understand and unite many differing people toward a single goal, melding them into a concerted whole. Your task in life is to unite the dream with the bottom line. In short, you're the visionary with your feet on the ground. You're good at business and politics. You naturally understand large institutions, have the ability to think and act on an international scale. You're gifted with uncommonly sound common sense. You're able to see the beauty and potential in any given idea, but also practical methods that will bring it into fruition. Somehow you understand the limitations of ideas that will work and what will not. This is an intuitive gift that can evaluate possibilities on the basis of their practicality. While many with the aspect 22 is the most promising number, it's also the most difficult to live up to. You have great ambition, which can be most difficult to master, driving you to accomplish all that you're capable of. You're a steady partner in relationships. You offer sound advice and consistent emotional support. You don't suffer from flights of fancy and naturally resist the emotional heights. You're conventional in thought and action, but tend to be traditional in appearance and avoid airs and pretension. Katrina, your challenge is to share your vision with others and allow them to make their personal contributions. That requires flexibility on your part, perhaps your weakest characteristic. You often lack faith and ability for others. You often lack faith in the ability of others. Therefore, you tend to control people and situations, sometimes to manipulate. In the end, you must learn to surrender to the larger cause that you serve. The final result may be quite different from your original vision, but with faith and commitment, you'll make an enduring impact on the world. I'm like, what? That's a little much. It's a little much, right? My heart's desire 29-2. Katrina, you have the wisdom beyond your years. Even as a child, your understanding of life is considerable, though it likely went unrecognized by others. You're a born peacemaker. You're driven by the desire to settle conflicts, create harmony. You're a healer and visionary. You long to make the world a better place. You cannot rest until you've dedicated your life to something worthwhile. Your realm is ideas and philosophy. You're attracted to the world of energy. You're obsessed with the quest for enlightenment. You're extremely sensitive and possess a high degree of intuition. Subtle messages and feelings of others don't escape your attention. You are powerfully aware of the thoughts and feelings of others. Unless you're well-grounded, this can throw you about emotionally. Your awareness can be both a gift as well as a problem because you so deeply desire to please others and keep harmony in your environment. Many 11s were born into extremely hostile, turbulent families. This often resulted in psychological pain, lack of confidence, and shyness during childhood. Somehow, the child with an 11's heart desire recognized the source of the family's problem. This created an internal conflict for the child who naturally loved the troubled parent, but could not cope with the parent's behavior. Therefore, many 11s are scarred early in life. They understand the suffering of others and seek to be of service in some way. This is, in fact, the easiest way for you to heal yourself and find your greatest satisfaction. Katrina, you understand the importance of close, loving relationships. Therefore, you are selective in choosing your friends and spouse. You are a romantic, idealistic, but somewhat impractical person. Unless you have other balancing characteristics as indicated by one's 4 and 8 in your charts, it's wise to team up with a more practical or realistic partner. Holy fucking shit. So, it's a quick side note. The person that I'm seeing right now is my complete opposite in that he is way more fucking practical, way more fucking purpose-driven, way more whatever. And I remember when he came into my life, I was given the song the Rihanna song, You the One. And I had the feeling, which means the source was telling me that he is the perfect balancer to align with my life purpose. He has no idea any of this. He has no idea. Anyway, wow. So we'll see how that goes. Jesus. You have a magnetic and charismatic personality. You like pondering abstract matters. Your intelligence is eclectic. Idea solutions to problems and inventions seem to come to you as if out of the blue. You're highly charged and intense. You can cause nervous tension. You need to take care of your nervous system with ample amount of rest, peaceful environment, proper diet. That's why I live in the fucking mountains. Avoiding extreme foods and drugs. You're often more concerned with universal justice than the individual. The 11 is a master number possessing great potential. It has been entrusted to you as a gift, and you are worthy of. The key is to maintain and hold onto your ideas and seek ways to practically implement them. Katrina, you have a specific role and a gift to give the world. This requires time and maturity to fully comprehend, but with patience and perseverance, you will discover why you felt different and unique as a child. At that time, you will discover that what made you feel weak as a child will make you feel strong and confident as a mature adult. Y'all. So when Spirit told me that I needed to share what my story is to, like, how I came into, like, falling into my life purposes, I was like, fuck that. That seems so self-important, and people really need to worry about who they are, right, and what their life purpose is. Then I get a text message from one of my photographers, and he's like, because he follows my spiritual page, and we have a lot of I've channeled for him a couple of times, and given him messages a couple of times, and so he's aware that he's drawn to me for we're aware that we're in each other's lives to, like, lift each other up in way bigger of a way than me hiring him to take pictures. And he's like, I feel like I don't, like, my purpose is, like, he's like, I want to save the world. He was like, I want to do all these wide things, and he felt guilty because he's like, why can't I just be happy with the little stuff, and so basically what's been happening in my life right now is I get messages from Spirit, and if I ignore it, they'll send me a person immediately who needs what they just told me to fucking share, so I got to get out of my own way with regards to that. But that's why I'm sharing this. And I think I'm going to put all these, like, little readings of mine on my website so that, you guys can check them out if you want. But I am going to encourage you to look into your own stuff. Pull your natal chart, pull your numerology, pull your hologenetic key. It's like, get a human design reading, because these are going to help align you to things. And I want you to know that when I first saw this shit, I was like, this is a lot of work. This seems like a lot of work. I don't want to do any of this shit, right? And it actually was a lot of different experiences and people and encounters and things that had to happen. Readings that I got my kids' readings that made me really realize that I really push people to be where they're supposed to be. And all this stuff that they talked about in this that I was terrified of, if I step into it, it's going to bring me so much joy. And then I relaxed my energy around having this huge responsibility. I remember I had this lady, she had done over 2,000 numerology readings. And I remember I met this lady because I'd given her my dog when I moved to Colorado, and she was technically homeless, and she was kind of squatting in this place with my dog. And I ended up renting this place, and the landlord was like, do you want her to leave? And I was like, no, because I'm fucking blindly, like, kind to people. And this ended up, whatever. I had a soul contract with this lady, whatever. So we sat down one day. She asked me, can I do your numerology report? Now, I already had the awareness because she was actually an extremely talented psychic, one of the most powerful psychics I've come into contact with. That bitch was on. And I remember thinking, this poor woman is homeless because of me. I felt like she was homeless because I needed to meet her. She doesn't know this yet. So I'm like, yeah, sure. You could do my numerology reading. And I'm sitting there, and she starts writing stuff down. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, she's about to find out why she's in my life. She's about to find out. She writes stuff. She's doing the numbers. She just says, wow. She's doing all the math and shit. She's like, look, I've done over 2,000 readings, and you're the third person that I have ever encountered that has these master numbers. She was like, you're here to change the world, and it's not a fucking joke. And yeah, so if you're feeling a pull to change the world, don't feel bad. Don't feel like the small things aren't enough, because I'm going to be honest. I live in a really, really, really tiny cabin. I'm technically homeless right now. This is an Airbnb, that I'm renting on a monthly basis. And I'm in the mountains. I'm in a very peaceful place. All I need to be happy is, like, my animals and my plants. and like my sentimentals, which is like 2 or 3 photos. Now, and they're not even my kids, because my kids are in my life. The photos are people who have passed away or people who are just not in my orbit right now. Like, I need very, very, very little to be happy. My peace is a high priority. I spend a lot of time in nature. I eat really good food. I train regularly. Like, I take really good care of my body because I kind of have to. My peace and sense of self, like, rests within that. So, let's see, we are at 53 minutes. Let's see what else I can share here. But as I was reading this, at the time when all this information was first given to me, I was very off-put. I was like, it sounds like a lot of work. Like, I don't know if I'm going to be doing all this. So let's move into the hologenetic keys. And this is going to be what we're going to kind of close with. So you can get your information for this on genekeys.com. GENEKEYES.com. My throat is hurting so bad. So it opens up with genius, love, and prosperity. It says, my purpose in life is to manifest the gift of equality. To realize my purpose, I must transform the shadow of weakness. In love and relationships, my greatest challenge is to transform the shadow of forgetting and to get the gift of mindfulness. My highest expression of my heart is devotion. Prosperity, I unlock my prosperity through my gift of strength. I undermine my prosperity through the shadow of force. I thrive best as a part of a small team. So my life's work, what I'm here to do, Gene Key number 34. If you truly fulfill your life's work, you will always be admired and remembered. Your gift is to be totally at one with whatever activity you're involved in. Your only 2 requirements for a happy life are something that you enjoy doing and the freedom to do it without interference. This may not sound like much of a gift, but if you find something to do in life that always keeps you busy where you are not interfered with, that'll be enough. This activity, whether lofty or mundane, will allow you to release your life force in a healthy way. You bring meaning to life when you're in motion, and although you'll never know why, this gift draws admiration from others. As far as you're concerned, you are simply being yourself, but others will draw upon what they see as your strength. So this is one of the reasons why I started living a more public life. Well, actually, I initially started because I've never had like a public social media goal. Never thought I was going to be on fucking TikTok. None of this bullshit. Oh, fucking YouTube, are you serious? But I remember this girl that I had connected with, she told me, I tell people about you. She's like, people are really like blown away at the way you live your life. She was like, you have no idea, like the impact that you're having on people, like, and I just remember like, what? So my purpose, what fulfills me deeply, Gene Key number 37, your purpose is to bring people in the world closer together in every aspect of your life. This is the essence of your work. Somewhere deep inside you have a great vision. A great vision is trying to find its way into the world, a vision of the world as one family. If this sounds cheesy, it's because most people have now been conditioned to believe that it isn't possible. You, however, bring hope into the world through keeping this vision alive and implementing it in every relationship you have. The deeper you dig within you, the further you realize you can go with this vision. There's nothing to stop you from transforming the whole world. You have the skills, the practicality, and the connections to really make a huge difference in the world. It is a matter of how big you can dream and how far you're willing to go. The secret, as you'll learn, is unconditional love, the most powerful force in the universe. You guys, I do not resonate with hating. When people talk about their haters or I have a family member who loves to talk about how, she kind of projects what she thinks people are thinking of her, and it's always in a negative way, and that never fucking resonates with me because I don't do jealousy. I don't feel jealous of anyone. And it's not because I think I'm bad shit. It's because I think everybody is wonderful. Genuinely. I don't do jealousy in relationships. I don't do competition at all because for what? It just doesn't resonate with me. It makes no fucking sense. I don't understand. I just fundamentally on a soul level have learned those lessons already, or it's just not a part of this incarnation, so I get real bored real quick with people who talk about other people. Like if you're talking about other people in a negative way, or if you're talking about people talking about you in a negative way, it's just like, oh my God, fucking snooze fest. I have to pull the phone away from my ear a bit while, they go through that because it just doesn't resonate with me at all. And then in relationships, when I come into contact with people, I always want to bring people closer together. That is a really, really, really huge part of, the way that I feel. When I go to Idaho, I want my aunt and her son to be closer. And I try to, do things to facilitate that with my children. So my first kid's dad, their family would love to tell them that I would try to pit my kids' dads, but my kids will fucking tell you through everything that they went through. I was always like, no, your dad loves you. Yes, he talks loud because he's passionate, and don't be afraid of him. And I was always the fucking advocate. When my, my other daughter was going through with the COVID thing and her dad was like, you need to fucking get the vaccine. What the fuck is wrong with you? You're stupid. I'm like, no, he loves you. And I'm always trying to in everything that I do. Oh my God, you guys, this resonates so fucking deeply. So so goddamn deeply. Now, after all this time, I feel like I have kind of moved on into a place in my life where I'm finally like opening up to just being guided by source, being open to the people that come into my life, believing that every connection is divinely designed. Nothing is flippant to me. I am extremely intentional and grateful for every interaction I have with every human on this fucking planet. And I view connections that other people may think are like lightweight as extremely, extremely deep. And it's like, I don't know, man. I like to say I'm built different. But I think a lot of us here that are incarnated at this time are here to make a huge difference. And we know the world is going through a huge shift. I mean, look at the media, you know? So the guy I'm seeing, I asked him if he believed in reincarnation. He told me no. But then one of the times we hung out, he went into this whole ass fucking diatribe about this. He went into this whole diatribe about this anime show that he watches where these kids are like reincarnated and they have access to all their powers. I'm like, all of that shit is real. So whether he believes in it or not, he has the foundational work and his soul knows it's true. So whether his human person is there yet doesn't fucking matter. Like, you guys, we are here and we are one. And every single one of us has a purpose. And I really want to encourage you to dive into your self-discovery, dive into your charts, these are all cheat codes that the universe has given us. And know that the answer to everything that you are looking for is within yourself, and just to follow the way that you feel. And even if, as you first like kind of step into this, you're reading it, it's very intimidating, you're like, what the fuck? The more you kind of open up to it and just allow the universe to keep watering the seeds that it's planted and to keep bringing you people to show you how to align with your purpose, it'll start to get easier and it'll start to feel like flow. Like today I woke up, I knew today I was going to record a bunch of podcast episodes. I feel like right now in this particular point in my life, because I have kind of bullshitted, I tried to smoke a lot of weed to avoid doing it. I tried to like find ways to busy myself and avoid doing the work. And I feel right now that I'm at a point in my life where I'm like a printer that has like all these documents spooling, and it's just coming out and coming out and coming out and coming out. And I'm creating all this stuff that I'm supposed to create in order to create this, whatever the fuck is supposed to come of this. Because I don't know what it is, and I don't need to know what it is. All I need to know is what I need to do today and how I can show up for others and how I can show up for myself, so that I can live like the most joyous, aligned life with a result that I am deeply proud of. And I've always used to tell my kids that, you don't have to be rich, you don't have to be famous, you just got to help one fucking person. And I know I've done that. I know I've done that. So if I die today, my life purpose, I feel like, is fulfilled to a certain extent. I've raised amazing children who are more closely aligned with who they truly are because I got to be their mom. Yeah, and that's just within my family. I'm not even going to touch on the way I have shown up for people that are not within my orbit. I was told in a reading once recently that I impact people's lives in a forever kind of way, but there's not too many people that are going to be in my life forever, which really broke my heart for a while. I spent a lot of time being sad about that because I want my forever people, and I feel like I have my handful, and it may shift and it may change throughout my life, but I'm just open at this point to going with the flow, and I'm willing. One of the things I pray about now, like, and when I say pray, I literally just like put my hand on my heart and I'm like, you know what? Get Trina out of the way. I'm willing to show up in the way that is for my highest, greatest good and for the highest, greatest good of the world, because, we're all just leaves on a tree, guys. So I hope you found this helpful. I'm going to wrap it up now because I'm in about an hour and my battery's going to die on my thing. So I'm going to charge my battery up, do some actual work for my companies, and then I'm going to start recording my next podcast. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this journey.